What up? It's Golden Spaces. We are here. This is an Odyssey original podcast. We are here after yet another candidate for worst loss of the season. Warriors lose to the Grizzlies, missing all of their good players except for two. No John Morant, no Marcus Smart, no Desmond Bain. I think Aldama did play, but no Jake LaRavia, no Derrick Rose, no
No
Brandon
Steven
Clark,
Adams.
no Steven Adams. Pretty much the skeleton crew of the Grizzlies, plus Jaren Jackson and Xavier Tillman, who didn't have good games today, by the way, just beat the Warriors pretty convincingly at
Well, in the
home
fourth, in the fourth,
in the fourth. Yeah. It was close. They were tied or up one going into the fourth quarter or
yeah.
down one.
I felt like we led every quarter except I think entering the fourth. I think.
Mhm. Yeah, the 6-point lead in the first gave them a cushion. They were leading going into the fourth by 1 point, but they lost the second quarter, lost the third quarter, and lost the fourth quarter. And lost the fourth quarter by 10. Couldn't score. Embarrassing is, I guess, one way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no other. I think that's a great word. Embarrassing.
Yeah. Yes. It's getting to that time, right, where we're counting down the days to the trade deadline because I think it's becoming more and more obvious each day that this team needs to make a trade, no matter what that trade is. I have my, I guess, opinion on what the
Mhm.
order of who should be traded should be, but it really doesn't matter at this point. Like, somebody got to go. They got to bring something in here, shake it up, prepare for next year, prepare for a run for the rest of the season. But the way it is right now cannot continue because it's been too many games like this.
Yeah. But
Draymond Green.
he did, but we also they had a lot of help from the refs. It'd be different if the whistle was getting blown both ways.
That's
If
true.
we're what under 10 free throw attempts to their 40 or something,
Yeah,
that's huge.
it was 10 total free throw attempts from the Warriors to 40 attempts from the Grizzlies, and they shot way more threes. They got, I
Yep.
mean, like 40 free throw attempts is insane. I guess, I mean, we could talk about the refs. Obviously, that's no matter how you're playing, a 30-point free throw difference is clearly showing an indication of refs being partial to one side or impartial.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You don't lose to this Grizzlies team under any circumstance, but they did, and that's how they did it. The
Yeah.
Grizzlies hit 10 more threes. The sharp shooting of Vince Williams Jr., David Roddy, Gigi Jackson, and Jacob Gilead. I think three of these guys are rookies. David Roddy was a rookie, I want to say 2 seasons ago, maybe one. These guys are like G League in and out type of dudes. Like David
Yep.
Roddy, I think, is in their rotation, but other than him, these other guys are fringe NBA players, and they hit 13 threes on us. Some of that is tip your cap because we don't know who you are,
Right.
and you aren't this good, so we're going to allow you to shoot semi open, and they just hit them. So it is
Every time.
a little bit of bad luck sprinkled in there.
Yeah. I, there's still just no words. I'm trying to figure out, like, how did this happen? Why is this happening? Just the game was still just too close for comfort anyway throughout, but you still thought, all right, we should still pull away at some point, just kind of riding guys a little bit too long in certain spots. Just gosh, I really thought we were going to win this one. I really did.
Yeah, I thought they were going to turn it on at some point and just kind of do what the Bucks did to us the other night, where it's like, yeah, y'all are putting up a good fight, but we just have the better players, and it never happened because unlike the Bucks, we just did not play hard enough when it was time to win, or
Right.
smart enough when it was time to win. The Bucks just got whatever they wanted after that game, didn't turn it over, got good shots, but the Warriors did the opposite, right? Turned it over a bunch of times
Just
19
weird stuff.
turnovers. Yeah, just
Yeah.
weird stuff. People trying passes that aren't there. Steph just dribbling out of bounds for no reason. Um, just weird stuff like that. So I mean, it was just a weird night, but this is an absolutely unacceptable loss.
Yeah.
19 turnovers.
We were down by 10 with 4 minutes to go. I felt like, hey, we still have enough time to get back into it. That's enough time. Let's get some stops. Let's get some, good looks and everything. And then, folks getting blocked at the rim. And it's like, come on. You have
Mm-hmm.
to know this going
Yeah.
in there. Um, Klay not in the game uncharacteristically in the fourth to start. So I don't know what was going on with that. And so by the time he comes back in, he's cold. He's got
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, I think he was cold for majority of the game. Like he only took 10 shots. When does that ever happen, right? Like
Right?
I just don't think for some reason with Draymond coming back, I don't know what was the switch offensively, but they just stopped going to Klay.
Yeah, they did
Like,
not. He was open a lot of times, and it
and
was
they
just like,
passed him the ball in these situations where he didn't really have an advantage anyway, so he got to throw up a shot.
right.
And I don't know. I mean, like over the last, I don't know how many games, 10, 11, 12 games, they've been using him a lot more on the ball, making decisions, running pick and roll with Trace and doing all this stuff. And it's been generating good results.
Yeah.
And today he just didn't have a lot of touches, period.
No.
Which is weird. It ended up resulting in him being a -20, even though a lot of the time he wasn't even directly involved in the outcome of
Right.
the play.
In anything.
And this just kind of shows you how weird plus minus can be sometimes. And he was on the court for a lot of these runs where these guys who are no names are hitting these crazy shots and stuff like that.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
they
he
got to
he had a couple of, missteps on defense or
for
whatever,
sure.
leaving them, like giving them a bit too much space and not
Mhm.
tracking Kennard, but that's still not the reason for this loss. Like to me, it looked like they iced him out for a good portion of the game, which was rather strange.
Very strange considering they couldn't generate offense. And they have absolutely no chance of generating offense if it's
If
just Steph by himself. Like
Yeah,
it's just not
and
going to happen.
clearly he was being guarded and held everything. Not going to get a whistle. What, he went to the line once
One time.
to take the technical free throw?
Hmm. You
Yeah.
got dudes jumping on his back. No call.
No,
Uh,
just okay. I guess you can do this.
hmm.
Had that been someone else jumping on somebody else's back, I think a whistle would have been blown.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the player who led the Dubs in free throw attempts tonight was Dario, and Dario gets mauled every time he goes to the rack.
Yeah.
So they got to call some of those. But yeah, just very weird officiating tonight. Um, can't really explain.
Steph had 4 fouls as well. So,
Yeah, like the Warriors fouled 25 times, the Grizzlies fouled 12 times. The Grizzlies were by far the more aggressive team on the ball, like sending multiple bodies, swiping at the ball, jumping at the rim. No calls, all
mhm.
clean, which is cool. But I mean, I think this is like one of those losses that we've seen already this season, where the other team just plays way harder than the Warriors. And these are guys who are fighting for their NBA career on the Grizzlies.
Mhm.
That's they're going to play extremely hard regardless. But the Warriors still need to bring a baseline amount of effort and awareness together to be able to beat these teams easily, and they just don't do it.
Yeah,
They
it's
just don't
it's
do it.
not a collective like everybody join in. It's
Mhm.
two people will do it here, maybe one during this time. It's not. We all need to be bringing it. And
Mhm.
didn't we have more points in the paint as well?
Oh yeah, crushed them. I'm sure.
Hmm.
Let me double check that. I mean that was a part of the Grizzlies' game plan to funnel guys inside, try to limit
Yeah.
Steph and Klay, top lock them on the screens and stuff like that. But yeah, the Warriors had 42 more points in the paint. The Grizzlies made 23s, which I'm sure is a record for them this season.
So then it's like, so how is that disparity in the free throw shooting when,
Right.
but okay.
Exactly. The Warriors took, what is this, 59 2-point attempts, and the Grizzlies took 32. Now, a bunch of their attempts aren't counted because they're free throws, but I would assume the Warriors still shot more 2-point attempts.
So, you know.
Perfect defense from the Grizzlies. Great, perfect defense. But yeah, still like we keep saying, it's
Yeah,
still
like
unacceptable. Like,
even with all of that, we still should have been able to put this team away.
oh yeah, pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. GG Jackson changed the game for them. 19 years old, had 23 points off the bench, hit 5 threes. Also
Career
got fouled a
high.
bunch of times. Career high, I'm sure by far. Gilliard, 3 threes, 11 points.
Look, like
Um,
2 steals, I think.
yeah, like strip steal, just getting in there. And I've been seeing a lot on the timeline, like people saying a trade isn't fixing this team. So what's gonna fix the team then?
Right.
So what other options do we have?
Pack up our stuff and go home and just forget the season?
Yeah. Like,
No, like
that take doesn't make sense to me.
it doesn't.
And also, I disagree with it, right? I'm not going to say this team is a championship team if they make a trade, but if you bring in a very good player, I'm not going to say Siakam alone, but if you bring in a very good player, and I think just in general, that's going to help everybody else. One is going to bring something new. So you're going to be able to add in more things, like depending on who that player is. I'd hope it's somebody who can generate offense on their own. That in itself is a major boost for this team because they don't have anybody other than Steph. And when they decide to use Klay in that way to generate offense, that in itself just takes a lot of pressure off these other guys who aren't that good of offensive players to just focus on the little things.
And keep the defense honest on the other end. Like
Mm-hmm.
now you've got to pay attention to 3, not just this one or just this one, and nobody else could do anything.
Exactly. We even saw it with Chris Paul. Like, as flawed as Chris Paul is at this point, he was still a player that teams kind of respected in a certain way, and their offense flowed better when he was on the court with them. Like, I'm sure that the numbers support Steph and CP3 and Klay together. The offensive rating was kind of really, really, really high. So the defense might have been lacking, but the offense went well. Now imagine if you put a guy who can generate some offense and play defense.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that fixes a lot of issues with this team. It's just common sense. I think they definitely need a trade. They need multiple trades, probably. I would say at least 2. Whether or not you do both in season is, who knows what's on the table, who knows what deals that'll be there. But I do think they need at least 2 trades. One, to bring in some type of star level player. Whoever is sent out in that deal, so be it. Right. I would prefer that it's not one of Steph, Klay, or Draymond because you want to add a star to those 3, not replace them with another star because now you still only got 3 good players. But you need that, and then you need at this point to switch Wiggins out. I'm sorry. I know we talked about this already, but it's a fact. Like, he didn't have a terrible game today, but
no, he didn't.
He's just not bringing what he needs to bring at his price tag. I just don't think it's there anymore. And yeah, I think those are the 2 moves you need to make.
Yeah, but Nat was mentioning how with the contract that Wiggins has, he probably goes at the end of the season for what he has, opposed to Chris is a more mid-season. You just get off of him, package him up with someone, and keep it moving. So, I mean, again, but at this point, it's just like Dunleavy. Let's see what you got cooking, because something definitely needs to change because this is like, again, this game just what's happening? What's happening? You
Hmm.
know? I
Yeah.
don't know. And then
And-
and it just gets stuck. Like Dario, too much dribbling. But it's just like I don't know why sometimes I just want them to think like, why isn't anyone cutting? You
right.
see that something is stalled. That means somebody needs to start moving.
Mhm.
Somebody do something. But
You'll
they
see.
just
You'll
run
see a
out the
lot of
clock.
times the ball stall, and then
Yeah.
like it'll either be just Steph or Klay running around. Like they'll run or they'll run to the ball or something like that, and then people will start moving. But everybody else just sits and watches.
And I don't get that. It's like, how long
Yeah.
have you been on this team?
Right.
How long have you been playing basketball? This
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's a very good indication that they just need another high caliber player to take the ball and make plays with the ball, so everybody else don't even gotta be put in those situations. I'm tired of seeing the ball end up in somebody's hands, whether it's Dario or Pods, and these are good players, but the ball end up in their hands at the end of the shot clock, and they got to try to create something ISO. Like that's just
Yeah.
not their game. It's not
Mm-mm.
going to end well most of the time. It's not going to end well. Like if I got to see Pods try to do an up and under floater at the end of the shot clock because they can't generate anything else, and
Or a
he's
hook
missing it
shot that's
or a
not
hook.
going in.
Right, he's just not ready for that. Maybe a year from now, where his body matures a little bit more, his touch gets there, he gets more comfortable, then maybe he can go to some bailout offense. But right now, he's just not that level of offensive player yet.
No.
And so putting him in that position is going to make him better in the long run, but it's hurting the team and it's making him look bad.
Yeah. I didn't think he had a really good game tonight. I was kind of like, get him out. Like he's
He did, yeah. He's not. I mean, he's still a rookie.
yeah, right,
Um,
right.
so like he's going to be up and down, and that's why he probably shouldn't be put in a position with so much pressure and so much responsibility. But they have no other option, right?
Yeah,
Chris is hurt. Corey Joseph sucks.
he
Um,
does. But I think we could have went back to Lester though. I really think we could have.
Lester needs to play more, I think.
And it's just like normally, yeah, Moody would have been in there, who would have, I think, provided a great deal.
Hmm.
But go to Lester. Pods is struggling. Like, do that. And it's Lester's like, hello,
Hmm.
Memphis. He went to
Right.
school there. Like, come on.
He came in, played, made a good defensive
Yep.
play,
Yep.
all of
And
that.
then that
Didn't,
was it.
and I think he probably would have played more if the game went with the way it was supposed to go. But you might just need him to help you win. Like, forget giving him garbage minutes or forget giving him low leverage minutes. Just play him. Like, he
Yeah.
didn't score. You need offense. So
Because
play
Corey wasn't doing it and Pods wasn't hitting. So,
him. Yeah. So I think we keep coming back to trades, but I think a trade even helps Steve. Steve's been bad this season.
he
Just
has.
straight up bad. Like,
Yeah. Just,
and I look at it and I'm like, okay, two things can be true, right? He's been
yeah.
bad. But also, you look at this roster and how many people have been in and out of the lineup, how many times he's had to change the starting lineup because guys are playing bad. It's just hard to get a rhythm when you don't have a consistent starting five. You don't have a
Right.
consistent closing five. You don't have any type of consistent rotation because guys, like we said the 2 pods ago, they'll play good for the first half of the game and then they'll be terrible for the second half of the game. Like no one can consistently play good from start to finish.
Right.
So it's like, what do we go to right now? The moments where a guy is playing well and you sit him or don't put him back in the game with Kuminga like multiple times, that's just obviously bad coaching decision
Yeah.
right there. But you can see how confusing it can be at times when you just don't have any consistency, both with people available to play and how people are playing within the same game. So
Right.
I
Well,
think
you go ahead.
if you make a trade and you have a more consolidated roster, you have a more streamlined roster. These are my 5 guys. Like whether they're playing well or not, these are the guys who I expect to, take us home. These are the star players. They got to perform, and we're gonna ride or die with them. It makes it easier to make rotation decisions and all that type of stuff. And if you have more talent on the roster, it makes it easier to sit certain guys because you don't feel as reliant on someone's ball handling ability. You don't feel as reliant on someone else's shooting or something because you know you got talent to make up for that if that person isn't playing well. So it's another reason I think they need to make a trade, and it would obviously help this team out. You can't just sit.
Yeah. And Kerr just hasn't adjusted well, just knowing, okay, right. I don't know who I'm going to go with because I don't know what's going to happen in the second half. First half, I think I've got it, but now people are doing stupid stuff. So in the second half, you think, all right, then I'll go with them. They seem to have done some good things. Let's see what we've got. And then they start crapping the bed. And then it's just like, okay, you go in. Now you go in. Okay,
Yeah.
I think this might work, but now you're screwing up when I thought that you had something good going, but now you don't. So it's just everything all at once. Like,
Literally.
it's just like,
Literally. And that's why I'm a little bit more hesitant to assign like a large deal of blame to the legacy guys. And by legacy guys, I mean Steph, Klay, Draymond, and Steve. Like they all deserve their individual blame to a certain extent, right? Steve, like we said, has not been
yeah,
good this season. Steph has been up and down. He's tired, but at the end of the day, you're the best player. You have to perform a certain way. And, 5 turnovers, like not taking care of the ball, not playing
yeah,
great on defense really at all this season. That type of stuff, like you need to be better there. But Klay obviously up and down with shot making, shot selection, and all the stuff that Klay is, has dealt with all season. Draymond just not being there for 20
right,
plus games this season. Obviously, all bad things. But when you look at the rest of the roster and you see guys, like we said, can't play well for a full game, stall the offense, don't know how to move, don't know the concepts and like how to really make it like sharp. It's like, to me, address that first, and then we can address the legacy guys. Then we can talk about all the stuff that's going on here. Now, Draymond's suspension stuff aside, that's just unacceptable on any
yeah,
level. But on the basketball court, we could talk about how washed they are or all of that. Like, after we get some stuff in, after we get some players in here that makes sense for this timeline, that makes sense for trying to win a championship, then we can talk about that stuff. And that doesn't mean trade the young guys at all. I'm not saying that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just saying, like, something needs to be shaken up because the roster outside of them, basketball wise, is just not it. We can talk about the off the court stuff, whether or not Klay's attitude and Draymond's inability to stay on the court is problematic behind the scenes, and Steve and all that stuff. But on the basketball court, it just makes the most sense to continue to support those three with players that make sense next to them. Like,
yeah,
at one point, Andrew made a lot of sense next to them. At this point, he don't really make a lot of sense. Same thing with Loon, right? Loon don't got to get traded, but like, you need players that make sense. Dario makes sense next to them. Even though he has his flaws, he does.
yeah.
Right now, JK does. But if you
He's
can
showing
bring
it.
somebody in there that is talented, in their prime, plays hard, can help them, can amplify
Can
them.
elevate it. Yeah.
Exactly. Can elevate them, can cover up for some of their weaknesses. Then it makes a lot more sense to me. But right now they just don't have that, and they don't have it consistently. At least they might have it every other game.
Yeah. And I don't know who that ultimately will end up being at the deadline, but clearly they seem to be active, and it's just kind of a wait and see type of game. So in the meantime and in between time, we've got to still just get back to on the good foot. Like, we have to start winning. Like, there's just what, now we're like 4 games under 500. Like,
4
things
games under
seem to
500.
be slipping,
And
and we can't have that. Like,
right. And this is where it falls on the legacy guys to man up. You don't got the roster potentially that you want right now. Guys aren't playing well, but at the end of the day, if you guys want to make anything out of this season and start hooping out there, like, you can't have a bad game for the next 2
yeah,
weeks, Steph. You can't have a bad game for the next 2 weeks, Klay, Draymond, Kerr.
yeah,
You can't make all these coaching mistakes.
No.
You gotta
Kind of like
float.
maybe speak up and just be like, listen, for this game, we know who their personnel is. This is who we need to start. This is who's going to come in for relief. Like,
Mhm.
we're doing that. But like, maybe start speaking up and saying, this is who it is. Like, this is who I feel like I can really, get going with
Mhm.
when we start the game or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they have said that. We saw JK closing again. So
Yeah.
that was good. But still, we just things just weren't happening like they needed to. So
Mhm. So they gotta turn back the clock for a little bit. Similar, and I hate to make this comparison, but similar to what LeBron did and AD did before the trade deadline last season. Right, AD was out. LeBron LeBron kind of kept them afloat, and then LeBron was out. AD kept them afloat. They got to the trade deadline with a decent enough record that once they made the trade, they can kind of take off and rewrite their season. So it's on those guys, Steph, Clay, Dre, Kerr, to do that. Just keep them afloat, right?
yeah,
Don't tank, don't fall too much. They've
right,
lost 4 of the last 5. You're gonna have to go on a 4 out of 5 win type of streak at some point and hover near 500. So once you get to that trade deadline and you potentially make some type of trades that can help this team, then you're in a much better position. You're not too deep of a hole that you
right,
can't get out of it.
right.
Um,
And
yep.
who do we have next? Don't say Dallas.
It's the Laurie Markkinen Bowl next.
The Utah Jazz.
The
That's
flaming
right.
hot Utah Jazz,
Right, the flaming hot Utah Jazz. You are not wrong about that.
who
But
have won
but
4 of
again,
the last 16 games.
but again, this was Draymond's first game back. What we saw the spark. We saw how things started really churning, and getting things together. So now he's got the one game under his belt. We're going to Utah. Yeah, that altitude is also another thing to deal with because it's a real thing.
Mhm.
Um, but hey, I think we play well in Utah, right? Let's hope.
Uh, I think last year they were in Utah and they lost
Well,
at the buzzer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that 4 seconds
That was one of our
left.
yeah,
But that was with
that was
wasn't it
without
Malik
Market.
Beasley was there?
Yeah, yeah. So that would be a good win if they beat them because Utah's, like we said, hooping. They won 14 of the last 16 games. Colin
Yeah,
Sexton is looking like an all-star now that
yeah.
he's been put in the starting lineup. So that would be a good win.
And then we'd
Then you
go
have
two for
Dallas.
two. Look, we would have gone 2 for 2 on the road there.
Yeah, true. 500 on the
So,
road.
you know,
Mhm.
I wasn't
I mean,
hoping for that, but we'll take it.
right, right. You look at that and you try to go 3-1, but 2 for 2 is or 2-2 is not bad. Then you got a home stretch there for about 5 games where you play Dallas, Atlanta, the
Hmm.
Dejounte Murray Bowl, Sacramento, Los Angeles, and then Philadelphia. So that's not
Yep.
easy.
It is not. It is
Not
not.
easy. Uh,
Nope.
Dallas, I mean, got 4 good teams, or Lakers aren't good, but when they play the
But
Warriors, I bet they play the best basketball. I know
hmm
that much. Same thing with Atlanta. They're going to play their best basketball against the Warriors. So,
and that back to back with the Kings. So it's like
hmm hmm tough stretch,
mm,
tough stretch. And then that last, I mean, then you go back on the road for that week of like leading up to the trade deadline. It's like all road games leading up to that. So you see the Atlanta twice over that stretch, but they, like we just said, they gotta stay afloat
they
at the
do.
very least. I'm gonna ask you, what do you think? Their starting 5 should be, and do you think it should be fluid or should it be like stable? Let's just ride it with this. Uh,
Um, I I would like it to be stable.
mhm.
Um, but I can understand it being fluid at times depending on who you're going to be matched up with. Because Looney would play in theory Jokic much better than if you started TJD there. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Just to give you a nice, good footing or whatever. But overall, I think we probably just need to lock down. This is who we're starting with. And we can always pull whoever is the weakest link at that time as quickly as possible. Like, but let's get set. This is going to be our starting five. Boom. And we keep it moving. So if that's going to be Draymond, JK, Wiggs, Klay, Stephen, that's who it's going to be. Because it's clear right now that Wiggins seems to bring a different kind of energy, even though when he was coming off the bench, at some point, he did start picking it up. And it was just like, oh, maybe coming off the bench really did kind of like help him or whatever. But then when we inserted him back into the starting lineup, yeah, one game, not so hot. But I thought in this game, he started out well. So I think maybe playing next to Curry and Klay, and then now having Draymond back, I think that could work
Mhm.
to kind of just, hey, let's get it going now because we've got two athletes out there plus Draymond pushing that pace, and it's just like you guys go run, go go, like make something happen. So I think we could start there. I mean, I don't mind starting Dario, but I'm gonna need him to stop stop thinking Chris is out there with him. He's not. Okay.
Mhm.
So like get to your spots, Dario. You yes, you can pass and everything, but I felt like he was just kind of like holding on to the ball just a little too much, a little too much. And maybe that's because folks were bottling up Curry that he really couldn't break free enough to kind of just like get the ball from Dario quick enough. But
Mhm.
but that was to start it or whatever. So, but that's my thought on that. So, but
Okay.
what are you? What's your vision?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm with you on keeping it stable. I personally will probably start Dario instead of Andrew, only
Ooh,
because
okay.
only because
Offense.
offense. Yeah, I mean, I think Dario makes more sense as a spacer. He makes more sense as a ball mover, even though sometimes the ball does stick with him and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I think in that particular lineup, if you have Steph, Klay, JK, and Wiggins, like Klay, JK, and Wiggins are all shooting the ball, right? None of them are
Yeah,
like thinking, "Let me move the ball."
true.
And the numbers don't support that. The numbers support all of them shoot about the same amount. Like
So it's
they just
like,
play different minutes. Like they just all, but yeah, when they catch it, they putting it up. So you need
hmm
somebody that's going to be more willing to move the ball. I think a little bit more size on the inside to start the game may help. Just getting some rebounds early, and
okay,
then you're missing Moses and you're missing Gary, so it's probably best to still have a wing on the bench.
that's true. I forgot
So
about that.
I will put Andrew on the bench, and then I mean Andrew just hasn't been playing well, so it's just like he doesn't
No,
really.
he hasn't. It's like he's up and down, but it's
Yeah,
just like he
I get what you
started
mean.
and
Though. He
it's
did start with a
and
little more juice next to them.
yeah, so it was just like he's flying in for boards, like, oh, okay, all right, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
And then, sometimes it gets lost and we're like, what's happening? Where are you, dude? Where are you?
right.
Yeah, but no, I'm totally with that. Like I see that plus us being down a few dudes, then
Yep.
yeah, so it does kind of like, all right, Dario in here. Yeah, he's gonna space it, he's gonna pass,
Hmm.
you know, and he is smart out there. So like
For sure.
he knows, yeah, he's been kind of, whack with some of the passes like, dude, why are you forcing that in there? Like, it's not really there yet. But
Yeah.
um he still has the brain power to to
Hmm.
make the right play. Let me say that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Now,
you think that happens though? Up
no,
until
I don't
okay.
think that happens. No, I don't think they'll start Dario again. Well, I don't think they won't start Andrew. What was the starting lineup from today again?
It wasn't it Looney? It was Looney
Pretty sure.
and
I think it was Looney and
Dario.
Dario. Yeah, they didn't start Draymond.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Draymond's coming back to the starting lineup soon.
Yeah.
So somebody's coming out. Maybe it's Looney and not Dario, but knowing Steve, it might be. They might just go right back to that
No, you know what?
classic starting lineup.
But Steve's been very vocal about the starting five, saying that look, they just haven't been good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that he's going to be that quick to kind of go back to that.
True. I hope not.
With Draymond being back, I think he might kind of
Mm-hmm.
nixay on the
And I
past
mean that
lineup.
if you look at that previous lineup and you just swap, I mean, my lineup would be swapping Wiggins and Looney out for JK and Dario.
Right.
Is still kind of like the similar style, right? But Dario is just more dynamic offensively than Looney. He'll be in the same positions for the most part, except he'll be on the 3-point line a lot more. And JK will be in the same position as Wiggins, except he's just way more aggressive going to the rim.
Right. Right.
So they could be the juice that they need offensively to get off to a good start. We'll see defensively if JK's like awareness, attentiveness is where it needs to be. We'll see if Dario is
Yes.
able to move his feet as much as he needs to. But
Yeah.
I think.
But again, that comes down to certain matchups too. It's
Mhm.
just like, oh, this ain't a good one for Dario. Like he is getting,
Yeah.
So, but that's where the pull comes quicker.
Right.
It's like, hey, totally start. Always you can start, no problem.
Mhm.
But the hook will probably be quicker to kind of be like, all right, we can't keep that leads ballooning now, and we're going to take this time out and switch some things up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when they play Utah, the Utah starts a front line of Markkanen and John Collins. Very, very dynamic offensively with those two guys. Pretty athletic. So we'll
Yep.
see if it's Dario starting and how he looks against either one of Markkanen or Collins.
Or Collins,
It'll
right?
be a pretty tough cover for him. I mean, Collins may just be spotting up for three, which would be fine, but Collins will put it on your head in a second. So
Yeah. Well, Dario might get a block. Who's to say?
right. His defensive numbers aren't that bad. It's just if you watch the games, you can tell he's not the best defender, but
Right.
the percentages work out in his favor somewhat. So hopefully it'll be on our side if he does start. We have anything else?
No, I am looking forward to this game in Utah and hope that we can I don't know. I mean, are they going to watch the film of this game? I mean, they don't know half of the players that were out there cooking them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe it's just a discussion. Now that Draymond's back, he's going to be talking a bit more just to be like, hey, that happened. We got to go in. We've got to be able to close a lot better than what we did tonight. And there's no reason we should have got smoked by that team missing all of those players. But look, it happens. We got to throw it away and we got to stay focused on the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that next game is the Utah Jazz, who are currently playing the Pacers, and Lloyd Markkanen has 11 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. So
fantastic.
He might get 50 points. Thank you guys for joining us. Follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, X at Golden Spaces Pod. Continue to support us by listening to us on whatever podcast feed you're listening to us to. YouTube, 95.7 The Game. Check out our pretty faces. There we go. And yeah, continue to support. Leave good reviews. Make sure we're, chopping it up in the comments. We love the discourse, like we say all the time. And we appreciate you.
Yes. Peace.
Let's see if we get the... There we go. Confetti. There's nothing to celebrate right now.
Not yet, but we can't wait.
Celebrate the holidays. MLK Day.
Yeah, look.
Peace.